This is Joe Needs Desk with me, Mami Esinyamiche Thompson. Coming up this hour, Christian mission schools push back as the Catholic Bishops' Conference and Christian Council insist the institutions cannot be compelled to alter their long-standing practices over a suit challenging Wesley Girls' religious rights. We have details as the Education Minister warns that government will not tolerate infringing the right to religion.
And then to assure our colleagues that we have a duty to uphold the rights of every Ghanaian child.
Well, mixed reactions greet two-year extension of Inspector General of Police's tenure in office. Also, fire guards wooden structures in Dansuma claiming the life of an 8-year-old girl. We have details on our desk. And later we have business updates as well. This morning, the impact of illegal mining has opened the door to ruthless exploitation in the central region, where a gallon of borehole water now goes as high as 5 Ghana cedis.
The commander, you back 5 cedis. But your customer now open us and to me and 10 cedis. Let us say consider no. You sure how our move Muna, you consider on Kakra.
More in our continuing series, Dear Mahama, hashtag Stop Galamsey Now. We also have business updates. Now, the Catholic Bishops' Conference and the Christian Council have defended the right of Christian schools to maintain their practices, insisting that no student is compelled to attend a Christian mission school. This follows a Supreme Court directive ordering Wesley Girls High School to respond within 14 days to a suit filed by private legal practitioner Shafic Osman, who accuses the school of preventing Muslim students from observing their religious obligations. But the Ghana Catholic Bishops' Conference, in a statement, insists they will not allow their religious practices to accommodate non-Christian students. Here are excerpts of that statement. And it says that the questions of whether non-Christian students, particularly Muslims, should be allowed to fully practice their religion within Christian mission schools in Ghana has become one of the most sensitive and widely debated issues in our national educational landscape. As proprietors, we are often called upon to explain why we insist on maintaining the Christian identity, practices, and ethos of schools we founded. Our position is not rooted in hostility towards other faiths, but in a desire to preserve the integrity of institutions we have built and nurtured for over a century, a mission that touches history, law, culture, educational philosophy, and the Church's foundational role in Ghana. It also says that the historical and proprietorship claim forms the cornerstone of our argument. Christian mission schools were not created by the state. They arose because the different churches, Catholic, Methodist, Presbyterian, Anglican, and others, saw education as a central expression of our ethos long before the modern state of Ghana existed. When the government began assisting us primarily by paying teacher salaries and regulating curricula, it joined an already functioning system. State support, therefore, is a partnership, not a takeover. The ownership and identity of these schools reside with us. Government assistance does not diminish this identity, nor does it confer the right to alter the core religious character that defines these institutions. And these are just excerpts of what the bishops are saying. Well, the Education Minister, Haruna Idrisu, says government will not tolerate any policy in any public or mission school that infringes on students' right to practice their faith.
There is some ongoing debate on restrictions on Muslim students in Wesley Girls, which conflicts with international human rights standards and even standard expected of us in Ghana's constitution and Article 33(5) and 26(1) of the constitution. And then to assure our colleagues that we have a duty to uphold the rights of every Ghanaian child and to uphold the rights of every Ghanaian citizen. No right is divisible, and that we will not countenance any action by any person to deny any Ghanaian girl the opportunity to profess or practice any religion.
Well, let's engage with Dr. Peter Nte, Executive Director, Institute for Education Studies. Also, Lom Nuku Alija is a lecturer at Gimpa Law School and a private legal practitioner. But first, before we engage these two, I'd like to also have this conversation with an old girl of Wesley Girls High School, just to understand the context. We're grateful for your time on our desk. Tell us about your personal experience on campus. What were the rules? How was life living with other faiths on campus?
Thank you very much for this opportunity. Greetings to your wonderful audience. I'm an old girl of the prestigious Wesley Girls High School, and this issue is not new. I want to make clear the fact that Wesley Girls High School is a missionary school. And what that means is that it is under the authority of the Methodist Church Ghana. And I would also like to pose a question. Is there any Muslim school where there's a chapel assigned to Christian students that attend that school? If there is not, why should students or girls that are coming into Wesley Girls High School and have taken oaths that they will abide by every rule in the school now argue this argument? In school, in my days, there was nothing like we are pressing the neck of Muslim students, preventing them from doing whatever they are doing. But the rules governing the school clearly states that even Christians, when I was in school, I was part of GAMSU. When I was in school, you can't have more. There were not more than 2 Christian organizations on campus. It was just GAMSU and Christian Fellowship.
But at least, so what I would like to understand is this. When you come to the school, are there clear rules that says you cannot practice this religion in the school?
Yes.
And
you are made to sign.
Okay, go ahead.
You are made to sign all those rules, telling you cannot do these actions, you cannot practice these and all that. So you are clearly made to sign that. So if you read all that, I believe we can all read and write. So if you read all that and you decided to still go on and be accepted into the school, I believe this isn't an argument we should undertake.
Well,
and if
what I'd like to also know is this. You say that there's about 2 institutions in the school that students can associate with. And these are all Christian organizations, right?
Yes, exactly.
So why can't they at least do one for the Muslims who are in the schools? Or
I believe...
Are Muslims at least allowed to privately say their prayers?
When I was in school, what was happening was the Muslims, they in their dormitories and all that, they were having their prayers and all that. And nobody is going to come to them and tell them to stop.
Right.
But for them to gather, because even the Christian denominations, they were all under the Christian Fellowship. I mean, if you want to be part of that, you join that. But it's not like compulsory that you join Christian Fellowship or compulsory that you join GAMSU. But we didn't want to allow certain meetings that are not under authority, so that we know that every meeting that is going on, it is under authority. Whatever is going on there, because the bishop or the chaplain is the one over the Christian activities in the school, because it's a missionary school. So whatever activity that is going on, it should be to the knowledge of the chaplain, at least. I believe that is clear enough. So we cannot stop them from doing their prayers in their rooms, but for them to gather and, it was not.
So I want to understand from you, your Muslim classmates, how did they react to this while on campus?
Well, for instance, there was a time where when we are in school and we are singing the Methodist hymns, some of them do not sing. And for that, I will not force that you sing it. That is up to you. It's not forced to sing it or say amen. But for them to have meetings, and it's a Christian Methodist school, and it was clearly stated in the rules. And for them, I mean, some of them were very compliant. Some of them understood clearly the terms and conditions that they themselves signed. Some of them were compliant. Some of them, whenever, some were, some of them, whenever a group of their friends came that, oh, let's have a meeting, or let's, they will say, please, this is the rules of the school. When we go home, we can do whatever we want. Okay. So I believe this is something that is clearly understandable. And if I really want to know which Muslim school has a chapel that allows mass gatherings of Christians in their school.
Well,
they are not speaking against any religion.
There's not been any such question coming up from the Islamic schools, but we'll leave it here. Thank you so much for sharing with us your experience at school. And now let's engage Dr. Peter Anti. He's Executive Director for the Institute of Education Studies. So, Dr. Anti, where do we draw the line? Seeing that this has become a very, sensitive issue where you have a school where you admit both Christians and Muslims, and one cannot practice their faith, even though the Constitution allows that right. Where do we draw the line? Kindly unmute and speak to us.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, much better.
Good. So I think that the best thing that we need to do at this stage, since we lost the initial opportunity to address this issue, what I mean by the initial opportunity is that when the Atumota issue came up, I thought that we had a very brilliant opportunity to address this issue of religion in our schools. Unfortunately, we were not able to do that. The ministry should have used that opportunity to develop a comprehensive policy framework around how religious practices would be or can be taken or undertaken in our various secondary education institutions. We didn't do that. And now we have a case at the Supreme Court, which is the apex court of the country. I think that's the best we could do now, is to allow the court to pronounce on this case, and then the ministry will take the judgment that is given by the Supreme Court, and then develop a policy to guide the practice of religion in our schools. Else, we'll continue to do back and forth with this because people have different positions, and when it happens like that, the ultimate position should be the law. And when that is done, then we'll be able to have a headway with this. Trust me, if we are not able to do this, next year we'll come back to this issue again and we'll still have to discuss. So for me, I think the best is to allow the Supreme Court to pronounce their judgment. I don't think that the position of the minister, as he said in Parliament yesterday, was fair. I don't think that the position that is being taken by the Catholic Bishop and the Christian Council is also fair, because we have all agreed as a society that when issues come like this and they are in the courts, we allow the courts or the law to take its way. So let's all relax, wait for the final pronouncement from the courts. Then after that, the ministry can step in, use that opportunity to develop a comprehensive framework to address this issue of religion in our schools.
Right. Let me bring in Lom Nukuahlija, he's lecturer at Gimpa Law School, also my lecturer as well. We're grateful to have you on our desk. Lom, so I'd like to know from you, from where you sit, looking at the posture of the Attorney General, should he be defending the tradition of the school or the individual constitutional rights of the Muslim students in the school? Should it go all out to court, or there should be another way to deal with this matter?
Well, looking at the Attorney General's submissions that he made in court so far, I don't think the position of the Attorney General is to basically take the side of Wesley Girls High School to the detriment of Muslim students. I think that the question or the issue that has been at the forefront of that submission is essentially the fact that when you look at the 1992 Constitution, Chapter 5, which deals with fundamental freedoms, it guarantees rights across the board to different categories of people, including the right to profess a religion, which the school has. And of course, other students who are in the school who are not Christians also have the right to profess their religion. And so essentially, it is a matter of different rights at play and how to balance those rights. And what the Attorney General has done, from what I've read, is that the Attorney General is confirming the fact that this is a mission school and has mission objectives, which perhaps at some point may be at variance or difference with other religions. So the question that the court will have to determine is how far to balance those rights and to what extent, for example, a mission school like Wesley Girls High School can enforce its Christian values to the detriment of others. So it's a balancing act. If I take my personal situation, for example, I attended Achimota Secondary School, which is not a mission-based school. So in Achimota School, there was provision for Christian, Muslim students to be able to profess their religion and be able to pray and do things like that. But you realize that even with that, the question will always remain as to how far can a school accommodate all the religions, because to the extent that the Constitution of Ghana guarantees the right of every person to a religion of their choice, it means that there will be an endless addition with time. So there will be a need to consider various options and how to balance them so as to ensure that at any point in time, those who have established a school like Wesley Girls High School will be able to make their guiding principles determine everything that they do, at the same time accommodating rights of minorities who may also be present in the school. And so I don't think that Attorney General has taken one side. He has merely restated the fact that once it is a mission-based school, the mission-based school should have the ability to be guided by their guiding principles and so on. And that's what I'll say for now.
Well, there's also the question about, the rules were clearly spelled out. At least you agreed to those rules before you were admitted into the school. So if you're raising concerns now, do you have a basis? Does that even matter, the rules that the parents or the students admitted to before being admitted into the school?
Okay, so the rules matter, but the rules are also subject to the Constitution. And so one of the points I made earlier is the fact that we all have the right to exercise our fundamental human rights, but there's always a limit. And so I don't think that the rules are sacrosanct or determine the matter definitively, because to the extent that we can anticipate that is not only, for example, Christian students who attend a Christian school, it is also inherent in the constitutional ethos to expect that minority students who are, for example, in a religion that is not a dominant one in that particular space, will be able to also profess their religion, subject only to the fact that it should be proportionate to what can be done within the school. And the school may not have the resources to meet every need of every religion that is present within the school. So to that extent, I will say that those rules, even though we sign up to them, they are subject to the Constitution. And I'm looking forward to the position that the Supreme Court will take. And I'm minded to think that the Supreme Court will still state or take the position that even though it's a mission school and this mission school principles will guide and direct everything that the school itself will do, there should be some room for other students of other religions to profess their religion, but it should be reasonable. It should be such that it will be easy for such schools to accommodate these other requests from other religions. Because today we are talking only about a Muslim student in relation to this matter, but it is possible to have many other religions also coming forward with requests and demands and so on, but it has to be balanced. And so I think that the rules are subject to the Constitution, and to the extent that the Constitution allows every person in Ghana to practice and profess their religion, there will be room definitely for Muslims and other religions, even within a mission-based school, to profess their and practice their religion.
Do you think this is, I mean, we await the decision of the Supreme Court, but is this an opportunity for the Attorney General to push for some form of legal reform, especially for the education system? I'm saying this because the education minister, who happens to also be a Muslim, is also seen to have taken a certain position, and the Attorney General also be defending the school and the other defendants in this case has also taken a certain position. And knowing the two being in one government and not seeing eye to eye on this matter, is it time to push for a legal reform?
Well, it is. It might be time to consider perhaps some policy which will guide the education ministry and other stakeholders in the education sector as far as practice of religion is concerned. It perhaps will be time for that. However, I think that since the matter is presently in court, it will be good to wait for the Supreme Court decision. And on the back of that decision, some proposals can be put forward for engagement by stakeholders and broad consultation in order to get perhaps more views and perspectives. Because the thing about, as I said, religion is that it is not simple and straightforward. And also, our Constitution guarantees everybody the rights. So we are not talking only about just Christians and Muslims here. We are talking about any religion you can think, the Hindus, the Buddhists, and so on, and so the Baha'i faith, and so on. And so a formulation of a policy to basically give direction to education sector institutions on how to deal with this would be good. But of course, everything in Ghana is subject to the Constitution. So once the Supreme Court makes its pronouncements and gives direction on the way in which it interprets the Constitution and the scope of the right to profess that religion within a particular context, especially when we are talking about mission-based schools, then I think that we would have the guidance that will direct or inform any policies or laws that will be developed by the Education Ministry, the Attorney General, and other government stakeholders, but definitely worth considering. But I'll say after the Supreme Court has considered the matter.
Right. Stay with me, Lom. I'll take you back to Dr. Peter Anti. Pete, I would like to ask you, should, similar to my last question to Lom, I'd like to know from you, should this be a cue to other mission schools to at least evolve their rules to accommodate other religions in their schools?
No, the fact is that if you leave the mission schools to take a decision on this, we will continue to have varied positions and diversity, which is currently the situation, because I'm informed that some of the mission schools do not have such strict rules as the school in question is having. So what we need, as I've indicated earlier on, is a comprehensive policy position from the Ministry of Education. I think that the Ministry of Education owes Ghanaians that particular duty after the judgment is given on this issue. We could have done this after that motor case issue. We were not able to do that. But this time around, we need to do that so that there's some sort of uniformity, although we agree to diversity, but there are certain standards that should cut across all our schools and ensure that these issues do not come up again. Because there have been challenges with the use of hijab in our schools over the years. Some students have been complaining, indicating that they would want to wear the hijab on campus. Some schools do not allow that. Now this is also hanging. So when a decision is taken, I think that irrespective of the position of a mission school, they will still need to fall in line, and they will be able to fall in line when the Ministry of Education, consultation with all stakeholders, is able to streamline a policy position on how to deal with religious practices in educational institutions in order not to affect the conducive learning environment, which is very, very important.
Thank you so much, Dr. Fitanti. Well, moving on, there have been mixed reactions to the Police Council's recommendation for a 2-year contract extension for the Inspector General of Police, Christian Tete Yonu. This was after the Police Council cited the need for stability as the Ghana Police Service continues major reforms, modernization programs, and critical national security operations. The recommendation has been forwarded to President John Mahama, and he's endorsed it. The extension will keep, the IGP in office, and we still have Lom Nuku Alija with us. Not Lom, so let me get your initial reaction to this. What do you make of this extension?
The extension of contracts have not been, I would say it's not new. We've seen that many times in Ghana in the public services. And so it is not a surprise. I'm sure in this particular case, the Police Council has done some consultations. Perhaps they've done lots of discussions around the best way forward. And in their view, an extension in this case will be warranted, which I believe is what has informed the request to the president, which, as you said, the president has also endorsed. And so that is consistent with many public institutions who have used that over the years.
Is this good governance or an executive overreach?
Executive overreach, I wouldn't say that, because the request for extension came from the Police Council itself. As you know, the police service is managed by the Police Council. The Police Council is the highest body as far as the police service is concerned. And if you will, that is in the nature of like the board, that they are running the affairs with the Inspector General of Police as the head of the institution, running day-to-day management of the service. And so the Police Council itself sees with the matter, has taken a decision and has referred it to the executive, in which case I wouldn't say it's an overreach, because it is not, for example, the president who has suggested the extension. It is requested, yes.
So what others are also asking is this, that President Mahama is not the first president to extend the tenure of people in public office, but it's gradually becoming a custom in some instances. Should that continue? And will this in any way affect the morale of others who are climbing up the ladder and seeing that often they do not get the opportunity to also be in that position?
Well, I think that the starting point for any conversation around this is the fact that the law prescribes the retirement age. So for me, the default position is that for everybody who attains the retirement age, they should proceed on the retirement. In fact, in most institutions, what happens is that even 5 years to your 60th birthday, the Human Resource Department will start orienting you, because they'll write to you, let you know that you have 5 years left. So you basically prepare your time to exit, which means that there's always opportunity for those who are lower in the ladder, as you said, to climb up. So that's the default. The need for extension will only come in when there is a legitimate basis to request such extension, which is why I made a point earlier that if you take the Police Council, what went into the request, I would imagine, would be a consideration of many factors, including, you mentioned, for example, stability of the service, in terms of officers who are, as you said, down the ladder, those who can perhaps fill the position and so on. And on consideration of all these factors, they have made the request. So I would say that the norm generally will be that retirement should be taken, and everybody who hits the age should proceed. But on a case-by-case basis, if justification can be made for consideration by the appointing authority, then I believe that the specific issues that are relevant to taking that decision are considered, and on the back of that, perhaps a request can be made which will be outside the norm. So the norm should be the retirement age is hit and the person in question proceeds. However, a case can always be made if there's a legitimate reason to do so.
Thank you so much, Lom, for your time on our desk. Also joining us is Dr. Victor Doke. He's a security analyst. Dr. Doke, so what do you make of this decision by the president, of course, acting on the advice of the police council?
Very much. Good morning to you, my co-panelists. So I think, or we look at the space, the trend, the moment we are in, and then we can be best assured that continuity in the sector is very key. Okay. Now, the IGP himself has started a lot of policies, restructuring. Let's look at Galamsey with his task force. Let's look at fight against criminality, what he's doing in Tamale, and then subsequently in another region which will be going on soon. The overall restructuring that has taken place, decentralizing the system of communication, where now every jurisdiction has to be able to communicate rather than have a central point where headquarters will not communicate directly. So these are the positive factors that the IGP has undertaken. And then the major thing is where the president tasked him with regards to the 2020-2024 election-related violence, the report which came out with its recommendations. So all in this, if you have to tick the boxes, the police council, you have ticked all the boxes. Continuity, as I said, is very key. In this particular moment where we are heading to the festive season, continuing to next year, it will be very, very prudent to maintain the IGP in regards to his mandate. And then also the support from the police management body. From the section of the mandate, he has carried the police management body along in every assignment or every major task that he has undertaken. So that shows that he's a hands-on person and like to bring everybody on board. The welfare of the personnel themselves have been something that he has channeled. You're talking about not only monetary terms, but what? Promotions, which is very key. In everything, if you're not even able to meet the monetary requirements of the personnel, the promotion alone tells a lot. How many times have we seen him promote, personnel who have been able to, do well on the field in arrest or in providing intelligence for arrest to be made? So all of these put together has made the council decide that we recommend him to do additional years. But for me, I think it's good, irrespective of the fact that yes, we have the 3 months ago. Continuity is what I'm looking at, and the aspect of the personality or performing professionally, which is very key.
Conversation is also about, morale in the security force, that if this should continue to happen, doesn't it break that morale, diminish that morale of others also aspiring to higher heights?
Well, you talk about diminishing or, diminishes morale when the IGP is underperforming, when there is a big point. But as of now, I think I can confidently support the commissioners are supporting the IGP in as much as they're supporting the commissioners with the yeah. Now this one that IGP or security head has gotten his contract extended. This is what has been happening in our political space. And this is what happens when the aspect of politics and security come together. Now, with here is the politics. You will have these issues coming up, whether it diminishes, whether there will be bickering or not. But there has been a study that has been made with regards to all commissioners coming together to support the IGP to perform its mandate. The onus lies on the political head, the president, to what? Either it or not. And in this case, he has given the mandate. So I think all of us have to support the IGP. The morale will diminish when the IGP is underperforming, when he is not channeling their welfare issues, and then fighting for their cause, by and large, the security and peace that we are enjoying, if there are threats that persistently cause us to question, and that is when the morale, not only of the personnel, but we all, our morals will be dampened.
Thank you very much, Dr. Doke, for your time on our decks. Well, to other stories now. The impact of illegal mining has opened the door to ruthless exploitation in the central region, where a gallon of boiled water now goes for as high as 5 Ghana cedis, with water scarcity deepening after the pollution of the Ayensu and Pra rivers. Water has become a commodity controlled by private sellers. Okada riders now double as water couriers, charging desperate households for every gallon they can find. Emmanuel Juvenu has more in today's episode of Dear Mahama, #StopGalamsey.
Emmanuel Ejuri is an Okada rider in Kwenyako. He no longer carries passengers. For weeks, Emmanuel has been riding from town to town, hunting for something as basic as drinking water. The taps at Kwenyako have been dry since the Ayensu River died under the weight of Galamsey pollution. And a new business, water exploitation, has quietly taken its place.
My customer ni enyensu no, ye na enyensu no, me kura me pe bi age se ma pe baby aye far away na makwa sound nsuo. Nti we me customer na frɛ me say me meje gallons no na me be fill nsuo. Nti me ba beto wa ha ba ko 1 cedis. But me so me kwa na maje me fe na me di nsuo na ama no.
Emmanuel pays 1 cedi per gallon at private boreholes, then adds transport charges for the families who depend on him.
I mean, me the commander, yeah, Okada wa na ye giba ko 5 cedis. But your customer na open answer me to me and me ansa 10 cedis. Na just say what consider no. You sure how I move femu na yen so ya consider on kakra.
The Ayensu River, which feeds the Kwenyako treatment plant, is now thick, brown, and unsafe. And in the absence of clean water, exploitation slipped in quietly. Borehole owners who once gave water freely now sell it. Families with nothing are forced to spend the little they have just to stay alive.
Galamsey for na mo say nsuo no fi etifi ho no mo na esane aba na afo ha. Ntani ohawa akofa ba yetuto nsuo na ye de bi koma yen customers no.
Across the central region, thousands are living in the same story, but some are cashing in. In Yakrum, Jonas, a tricycle rider, has become a water courier, not because he wants to, but because the crisis has become profitable. He charges more than Emmanuel because the demand is high and the desperation even higher.
Senipana de gallons there. Big 2 cedis. Ubasage 2 cedis. But I know 1, 2 dear member. Be 10, 15, 20 dear. And before one another, Menyeska. And the 1, 2 dear just a wow, Basawadi. Only to a boy for no pesa ye hona. Yetum. Goyansu Yankuaso.
For Jonas, scarcity is an opportunity. For his customers, it is misery. Families struggle just to get water, often unsafe. Some walk miles for borehole. Others give up and return to the polluted river that caused the shutdown of the Kwenyako treatment plant. In Sechehiman, just a few meters from the treatment plant, Kofi Techi stands by the river Pra, staring at it as if he no longer recognizes it.
First, I didn't see. First, not any fine power. On any dwellers, yes, I know. First, on a pipe of grana, I'm say 1 or 2 penana a war. Until you soon any day, you know. We see on the enemy say, Galamsey Namade, Abansa. numa fon so oma be ibu halma am som ton mine nti water was for the numa de no na ebi so oma hwehwe bi ko fifim ebi say wo sika abotumi na watwe bi akofi na we bura de waton nti hon ani pure to ya na dia nyenyen so de num nti we de ensan num bim
edru na me hate sesia nsu am de ba nua kra no eni mi problem kase.
The water crisis is suffocating livelihoods, including that of herbalist Kwame Pentel.
Na me na akọ almost 7 miles away. Makohwehwe borehole ensu na fi me de aba ba yem aduro. Esi eduru am nua no kra me mfa se nsu bi nya kise me kọ village makope borehole na me de aba nsa na me de aba nua maduro. In fact ni na ye din ye ho kire ye ni okamafo penim bi enu aye ko bona mane se ane se neti yensu ni na nsu ye ni daso ha no ane se aba ne se ota ne se ye de nu aduane eno na ye nom ye de ye bibia pure water de bi na nsu ye won ntuma nya nsu bi fi aside anko owra bi anko ye nsu ama bedware a eno chi se woto mikura nkwala 7 me ma meka ho na me wife ka ho ye 9 enti chi se yeto pure water pillow no baako na mo ye den ade se mo be kere mo de eguare se mo ye ne na atoma enti in fact easy ye brepa.
The illegal miners continue to wash away the rivers that feed several districts in the central region. The science is simple. When the river dies, the treatment plant dies. When the treatment plant dies, the community becomes desperate, and in desperation, exploitation thrives.
Abem mpenimfo a wetuma command say wonjai no still I want was wotu ye nimpo a yeti radio so yeti say wo bebo penim bi ni din so ka ho na wo ye na ahemfo no so akohwe bentum kwa asase bi a enye ne dia ho ahemfo na na eden edi ma won nti ye besre mo a wo wotum no won bombodian na won kasa nkire won say won won na ye so wonjai na ye akohwe ba no ye den ye so ye ho ntoyem bi.
Dear Mahama, water has become a luxury in the central region, and families are paying the price because they have no other choice. The crisis created by Galamsey has become a marketplace for survival, where a few profit while entire communities drown in water poverty. The people of Kwenyakun, Nyakrum, and Setrehiman are not asking for much, just the right to drink clean water without being exploited for it. Until the Galamsey stops, until the rivers recover, until the treatment plants run again, families will continue to live from gallon to gallon. And what should be a basic human right will remain a commodity for those who can afford. Emmanuel Jivenu, Joy News, Central Region.
This is Joy News Desk. We take a break. We'll return shortly.
You're welcome back. It's time for business. I am Michelle Lejukum. Now, Ghana's efforts to boost local rice production and cut down on imports have received a major push as the UNIDO ITEC rice project funded by the government of Japan donates a state-of-the-art high-performance liquid chromatography system to the CSIR Food Research Institute to enhance research, quality testing and food safety. There's more in the following report.
The United Nations Development Organization's ITEC Rice project, funded by the government of Japan, has donated a high-performance liquid chromatography system and its accessories to the Council of Scientific and Industrial Research's Food Research Institute. The support is expected to significantly enhance research into rice quality and safety as part of efforts to strengthen local rice production and reduce Ghana's reliance on imported rice. The donation forms part of a broader effort to improve competitiveness competitiveness of Ghana's rice value chain, ensuring that locally produced rice meets international standards while supporting national food security goals. Coordinator of Capacity Building at UNIDO, David Dako, emphasized that safeguarding and promoting local agriculture, especially rice production, is critical to stabilizing the cedi, creating jobs and reducing the burden of imports.
Very, very important that after producing the rice, we maintain the quality and make sure that if the quality is high and the standards are maintained, then Ghanaians will be able to prefer Ghana rice. When we're able to do that, one, we will help ourselves, our Ghanaians, to stabilize our currency. Two, the value chain artists will be able to increase their income level, they will reduce their level of poverty. And three, we create jobs. So this is very, very important. So all that we are doing is feeding into the national agenda to make sure that we're able to consume Ghana rice and reduce our importation to the barest minimum.
Director of CSIR Food Research Institute, Professor Charles Torto, described the donation as transformative, noting that the machine will impact how rice research is conducted in the country.
This equipment is going to revolutionize, change the activities within our mycotoxin laboratory and give us the best of results when it comes to mycotoxin. In general, when it comes to the institute and the country, it's going to support the youth and the women who are into small-scale industries, especially a focus on the food sector, and ensure that we can analyze their foods and advise them on the safety and assurance of the food.
Adding his input, Service Engineer for MES Equipment, Junior Obeng Menu, highlighted the role of the machine in enhancing food safety.
HPS is going to help this particular project to be able to check their aflatoxin. In fact, the food safety of this country at the moment. I know a lot of companies do check with the same equipment, but they being a research institution, without this machine, I don't see, sincerely, when it comes to aflatoxin, I don't see how best they.
And that'll be all for business this morning. When you log on to myjoyonline.com, I am Michelle Lejekum. I'm Missy.
Thank you, Michelle, for business. But that's all we have for News Desk today. Thanks for your company.